Good to see everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good. Yeah.
Really? Happy birthday.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Really appreciate that. Drake, I kind of want to know, man, like reading this character for Ray, like obviously there is that kind of villain label throughout this when you're watching it, but like I'm just wondering, just before even filming, like, do you read about do you read it as misunderstood, lost? Like, does he feel like a bit like a villain? Like, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like for me, anytime you play anybody, your job's to justify the actions. So I think it definitely like you have to kind of play it as like, oh, this is misunderstood. But for the sake of show, a lot of times you kind of have to forego like the truth of the moment sometimes, and you have to like present like I know the audience needs to feel this from me right now. So
Yeah.
play a little bit more insidious in that moment to like establish in the first couple episodes who I am in the town, and
Uh,
then later, with the writing with Johnny, like you get to like see the bread crumble, as they say.
Yeah. Well, I think it's such an amazing job and a credit to the writing. Like every character, all your characters, like you meet your character and like 5, 10 minutes in, like I'm so invested in learning more about these characters. And Josh, that's kind of my question, where I think the show does a really good job of balancing the fact that it has to do with kind of racing in the small town and cars, but it's also way more than that. And I'm wondering, what is that like for you balancing those two things? Because some episodes are going to be more kind of racing heavy, and then some don't even like think about that much. We're just learning about these characters. So I'm wondering what's that like for you being on a show like that, Josh?
Yeah, you really just have to let the script sort of take you where it wants to go. I think because Drake and I were talking about in pre-production, playing villains, playing bad guys, you sort of have to make the decision that in a way you're not these people and you're not personally responsible for these actions.
Hmm.
And then we also agreed that a show is only good as its obstacle.
Yeah.
And we were going to fight on, for our characters and our perspectives because as much as the audience wants to root for the good guy, they want to root against the bad guy. And so
Yeah.
we took a lot of glee and a lot of fun through that perspective throughout the episodes. Yeah.
Hmm. Mia, they paired you with the villainous characters, so I don't know.
Hey.
So I don't know. Like, I don't think your character is a villain. So I don't know if there's a theme there. But I
The
do want to ask
mastermind.
you because, sorry, Josh, what did you say?
No, I was saying she's actually the mastermind. She's the.
Well, Mia, I'm curious. Like, my question for you is, and because you've also worked on one of my favorite, I love The Wilds on Prime Video, and you're back now with Motorheads as well. And I'm wondering because my filmmaker hat, like, like I make films as well, so I think about these things. But it's like in Motorheads, like, and even those shows, The Wilds, like there's some scenes that we see your character in that, the runtime is like 2, 3 minutes at the diner or anything, right? But we know that there's a chance that some of those scenes are very long to shoot, and maybe it took like, 1 or 2 days to film that one scene that we see for 2 minutes. When that happens, Mia, does it feel like those big scenes, like, do they feel like their own kind of mini movie, like mini TV show, or do they feel like a part of the overall project? I'm curious about that.
You know what? That's a really good question. I feel like there are parts of your character's kind of storyline arc that you like. I kind of do see as like the mini movie. I guess like I that's funny. I never really thought of it like that, but I don't know. I guess just trying to be as like present as possible and staying within the character's like emotional state of where she's at in her timeline, and trying not to get too heady about those things and just be in the moment is super important. But yeah, that's interesting.
Absolutely. Drake, it's interesting. Ray has different kind of relationships with different characters. He's harder on some than others. There's some that he really cares about, some that you just like feel like he doesn't care about them and he's just looking out for himself. What was that like for you when you actually started filming and having all those different dynamics? Because that's one of my favorite things about your character's kind of storyline is all the interactions with his parents, with his friends, with everyone is completely different. Like he's almost a different person with some people at times, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Ray is like I always looked at him as like an animal backed in a corner, and so I think he's just trying to play whatever angle he can in every moment to like to thrive, to fit in, to succeed. So I feel like he is. I feel like he's a chameleon. I feel like depending on who he's around, like he shifts character, and you know
Mhm.
it, there's also like a size thing too. So it's like if he feels threatened or doesn't feel threatened, like the way that he'll converse with like Logan's character or Ryan Phillippe's character throughout the show is like there's a little bit of a shit-eating grin of like I know
Yeah.
you're. What are you gonna do? You know,
Yeah.
that was fun to play.
Oh, absolutely. Josh, and I kind of wanted to ask, getting back to what we were talking about the, racing component of the show. I mean, your character, Harris, like you could tell he really cares about the cars and the racing. He wants the glory, and I think the glory that he craves is kind of a little bit like, masqueraded around cars, right? Because that's what he's good at and everything. So, from a preparation perspective, what was that like for you specifically? Because he's obsessed with, like, cares about himself, but he really cares about the cars because that's what I feel like sets himself up for this glorious character, so to speak.
Yeah, no. He takes a lot of his identity and self-worth out of him being the best.
Yeah.
And this sense of competition that he sustains sort of throughout the show. And I think that comes from this place of you can't really buy respect. He has a lot of money and he can drive around in a Porsche, but someone with like a souped up, not a Porsche, can totally blow him off the track. So I think he brings just a lot of importance to winning, and he's I don't think he's a good loser.
No,
But
absolutely. And my last question is for Mia. I find it interesting, right? Because all these characters are doing kind of soul searching and self-reflection. Some more than others, but including your character, she's figuring things out. She's not sure about her relationship with Harris Bowers. New guy comes in, she's interested in him a little bit. So there's that. So I'm just wondering, like Mia, playing these characters doing kind of self-reflection, these lost characters, is that more fun, more challenging from an acting storyteller perspective? Because from the viewer, they don't know they're lost, right? So I'm just interested in that specifically.
You know what? It really is, for me at least, because that sort of introspection, um, and that inner monologue is really helpful, to find a character and play. And I love playing characters that have like an obstacle, that might not necessarily be right in front of them, but that might be internal and something that they're struggling with, part of them. And so that's always a really fun place for me, and I enjoy it a lot.
And one of my favorite things I love about this, and super quick before we wrap up, everyone can chime in, but I feel like we learn about all these characters and their strengths and weaknesses, but at the same time, there's this incredible kind of like lead up to this event that there might or might not be a big race coming up, and there might or might not be a car to be fixed, right? So I just love that kind of balance. And Motorheads on Prime Video. I can't wait for people to check it out. It was so great chatting with all of you. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.